Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Northumberland series. Northumberland is the northeastern tip of all of England. It's a unitary county containing 166 civil parishes. Let's see which one we're in today. Welcome back to Northumberland, people, for round two. Nikki is still with me and looking resplendent this morning.
I had a good night's sleep and a nice shower and, feeling refreshed, although my eyes tell you that I'm quite tired.
Well, the sun's up, it's quite nice out here. Fresh. And down there, down this road, there's the sea. Woo. And this route is very simple because this is a very, very small linear village. It's just basically a case of walking from our start point, which is a church, down to the sea and see what we can see. See what I did there.
I see what you did there.
Welcome to Cresswell.
I see the sea, give us a wave.
Welcome to Cresswell. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Cresswell is a quiet, pretty little village located on Druridge Bay on the North Sea coast of Northumberland. It's very popular with walkers and with bird watchers. A lot of the information in this one comes from a book called Cresswell's Curiosties by Barry Mead, which you can buy from the very popular Drift Café, which overlooks Druridge Bay. The area has spectacular scenery, scenic clifftop paths and a beautiful golden sandy beach, which is the biggest beach in all of Northumberland. The Cresswell and later Baker-Cresswell family have been associated with the village since the 12th century. Many of the village's houses were part of the Cresswell estate, built by them in the 1820s. The area is rife with legends like the tale of the local tailor, who was regarded as the best in the country in 1752. When the devil paid him a visit and tried to tempt him to fall into the sin of pride, he contacted the local vicar, and the devil supposedly vanished in a ball of fire. This was a hot spot for witchcraft too. A total of 23 witches are recorded as being executed in this area. The village has one ice cream shop and a beautiful church. It's a very peaceful area, but within easy reach of all the attractions that Northumberland has to offer. This one might be small, but it's one of Northumberland's real hidden gems. Our route starts at St Bartholomew's Church. This was consecrated in 1836 after having been paid for by Addison John Cresswell. It has two stained glass windows which memorialise members of the Cresswell family. It would have been nice to see those from the inside, but this church was locked and has been so ever since Storm Arwen in 2021. It has to remain closed until the damage caused by the storm has been repaired. We can, however, have a look at the adjoining churchyard with no such issues. St Bartholomew's did not have a churchyard until 1899 when it was consecrated by the Bishop of Newcastle. It was then extended in 1947. There's a memorial in here for a former reverend of this church who drowned in the sea in 1894. His body was never found. From the churchyard, you do get some brilliant views of the coast. We're walking down to that very shortly. So the sun may be out, but don't be fooled, it's quite chilly this morning. About what do we say, 8, 9 degrees, something like that?
Hang on, let me have a look.
Oh.
My phone will tell me.
The power of Google, my friends.
No. The power of having a phone that does a weather update.
Oh, does it? Okay.
Hold on.
All right. I'll hang on for you. Here, have some more coast view while Nikki. 9. Oh.
9.
Oh, not bad.
9 degrees.
9 degrees. Okay. There's also a war grave in here. Inside the church, there are memorials for the 22 men who died in the 2 World Wars. In 1940, during World War II, Cresswell had a chain home low radar station located on the shoreline, used for detecting aircraft around Newcastle. Out of the churchyard now, we turn towards the sea, and in doing so we pass Cresswell Towers. This is one of 2 caravan parks in Cresswell. This one opened in 1965. Golden Sands, a former YMCA camp, is the other, and it opened in 1991. Cresswell is accessible by bus. The number 1 is the service that runs to here. It's an hourly service and you can get to Blythe using it. Buses use a turning circle at the end of this road because this is the end of the route. Now we pass St Bartholomew's Close. When its houses were built in the 1970s, part of a medieval grave marker was found where they stand. This is a local mystery because it predates the church by hundreds of years. Right, here's a massive bonus. I didn't know whether or not we'd be able to get to this. The Cresswell Peel Tower or Pelly Tower. The gates are open. Was not expecting that in the slightest. So let's go in and have a look. This is, without a doubt, Cresswell's biggest and most well-known landmark. This is a peel tower. The Northumberland coast was once lined with these. They were built between 1350 and 1600 and were basically miniature castles. They were built as defensible retreats against attacks from the border reveres, raiders and robbers from both sides of the Scottish border. They were used until 1603 when England unified with Scotland. At that point, they were no longer needed. They were normally built within an enclosure called a barmkin. The tower here in Cresswell is no exception. The barmkin here contained other buildings, including a chapel, but it was demolished in the 18th century to make way for a mansion house. The ground floor of the tower would have been used for storage, whilst its first floor would have been divided into 2 separate rooms, these being a kitchen and a small private room for the Cresswell family.
Found this, it says keep me or re-hide me, please post on Reggie Loves Rocks Facebook page, Love Reggie, and there's a paw print there. And here, look at that. So we'll have to find some place to hide that in Cresswell.
The tower is said to be haunted by the White Lady, the ghost of one of the Cresswell daughters, who looks out over the sea for Rollo, a Danish prince who was cut down by her own family who did not approve of the pair's association. Around the back of the tower there's a triangular piece of land which contains a kitchen garden. This was part of a 6-acre complex of multiple gardens which served Cresswell Hall. Most have been sold off privately, but this one remains. Cresswell Hall once stood in some 200 acres of parkland just to the west of the Peel Tower. Only ruins now remain, including a magnificent stable block which lies within Hall Wood. You'll see that in today's picture bit. It should be noted that Cresswell Hall was not the same as the mansion house, which was built by William Cresswell in 1749. It adjoined the Peel Tower to the north and stood until 1845. We're standing here in the remains of the house. I can't tell you how happy I am that I've managed to get to that. Nikki's probably thinking what an idiot, because you know it's not all that, it's just a tower really, but it's Cresswell's biggest landmark, and without it I would have struggled to make this episode. So yeah,
it's history as well, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, that's part of what the ethos of Village Idiots work is about anyway, is looking at the history and what happened in the past and how it shaped the present.
Pretty much. Right, let's go to the sea.
Yes, I think I'm going to re-hide this one, and we're in one of the bus shelters. So let's pop him up here. There we go.
That, of course, was the bus stop I mentioned earlier where the number 1 turns around. In front of it, we have a boat full of flowers, a common sight at seaside places, and Cresswell is no exception. Now, let's check out the coast road. Cresswell is not what you'd call a typical seaside resort, so it doesn't get overrun by tourists. Even so, it does still provide amenities for visitors. It has this small shop named Cresswell Ices. This opens at 10 AM, so we were a little early to sample its delights. It's the only shop in the village, unless you want to count the place where this video will end in a few moments' time. Over the road is a small toilet block, because every good seaside place needs one of those. Alongside the shop is a track to the beach, and here you can access the Northumberland Coast Path. Cresswell is the official start of it, and it runs for 62 miles all the way up to Berwick-upon-Tweed, and you can bet it has some stunning scenery. Well, the tide's out. Check this out. This is Cresswell Beach. Doesn't this look beautiful?
Beautiful and clean again, isn't it? Another one of those lovely clean northern beaches.
The tide is absolutely way out at the moment. I wonder how far in it comes. I mean, obviously it comes up to here, but
I suspect it comes in where the sand colour changes.
Yeah.
Depending upon the season as well, I would have thought.
It's peaceful, isn't it?
Beautiful.
Very good for dog walking, apparently. There's a few dog walkers on there this morning. I can see at least 3.
Yeah, we've passed a couple as well coming off.
Yeah, it's probably going to be more.
Be good for rock pooling as well, that bit, wouldn't it?
Yeah, catching crabs.
No, haven't you said enough about catching crabs at the sea?
What, you mean like in the Withensea episode? This is an old lifeboat house built in 1875 following a tragedy the previous year when a small fishing boat capsized off Cresswell in a heavy squall. It closed in 1944 and is now the village hall. The parish notice board outside now displays one of my cards. The rest of the walk is just some houses along the shoreline. Whilst you enjoy these, I can tell you briefly about the Cresswell whale mentioned in the Morpeth episode. In 1822, a sperm whale was thrown against the rocks between the two settlements. Initially, it was claimed by the Baker-Cresswells and local landowner Mr. Atkinson, until the Admiralty stepped in and claimed it for the Crown. It was killed by the local blacksmith using a harpoon, and its carcass produced 9 tons of flesh and 158 gallons of oil. In August this year, it was decided to display its bones inside the peel tower. Its bones were previously displayed on a stone plinth in the grounds of Cresswell Hall, which still survives in a small patch of woodland close to Golden Sands Holiday Park. So that took about 36 minutes to walk from the church to the other end of Cresswell. Not a long walk, but a very interesting one. Oh, a little dog has come to say hello to us. Hello, my friend.
Just took you out to see if there's any.
It's like we said, it's good for dog walkers around here, isn't it? It's
Yep.
really good, really good. Okay, so I'm going to leave Nikki sat here outside the toilets for a few moments while I go and fetch the car back up the hill past the tower, and then we'll move on to the next one, and it's going to start just up this road towards Druridge Bay. Is this one worth a picture bit? Is it big enough?
Oh, I think you could find something for a picture bit on this one for sure, because we didn't get inside the church.
Yeah.
And there's obviously an old hall that was demolished.
Yeah.
And there'll be some old pictures, and there'll be some lifeboat and all the rest of it. So yeah, I think we could eke out a picture bit for this one.
So to finish with, we've come to the Drift Café, which is just a bit further up the road. Here we are, here's the Drift Café. There's nothing coming, so I'll just get across the road and show you it. There it is. So we're going to go in there for a cup of tea, slice of cake, that kind of thing, before we move on to the next one. And when we come out, I'll just show you some of the views from here, because there's a nice view over there, I do know. So we'll go in here, we'll do what we need to do, and when we come out, we'll do that to wrap up. The Drift Café is quite the place. It's very, very popular, and with food like this, well, you can see why. This right here, folks, is a haggis, bacon, black pudding and egg sandwich, and we had to share it because it was massive. £7, by the way. In 1932, a drift shaft was sunk here to access the coal seam at Ellington Colliery. The opening at the surface was quite near Blakemore Farm, hence the name Blakemore Drift. The drift was capped in 1981, and the Drift Café's name preserves this piece of mining heritage. Lastly, we can get a look at Cresswell Dunes, which form part of the massive and very attractive Druridge Bay. Druridge Bay was considered to be one of the most vulnerable beaches in Britain during war times. To combat the threat of invasion, for some 3.5 kilometres the shoreline was heavily defended. Come back next week and I'll show you how, as we head north from Cresswell further into the bay. So it's a bit fresh, it's a bit breezy, and here we are at Druridge Bay. Doesn't this look fantastic? I tell you, if the Northumberland coast is like this, all the way up towards Scotland, you're in for a treat, people. You really are. Where I'm standing here is on top of the dunes which overlook the beach. Behind me there's a boat club, Cresswell Boat Club, and a very big car park, and you can see the Drift Café there as well. This is a beautiful part of the world, it really is, and I'm loving every minute of it. This beach has got busy as well. Earlier there were about 3 people on it, as we saw, but now there's about 20, 30. Even in September, it seems to be a popular part of the Northumberland coast. Why not? And why not? Right, time for me to move on to my next one here in Northumberland, which means going just down the coast for a short distance before heading back inland towards the next village. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the parish of Cresswell, and I'm out.